3, 2, 1.
You ready?
Listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're having a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. So I've got a review for this film called Boy From Nowhere, which is directed by S.J. Finley. This is actually their debut, film debut. And I gotta say, especially for a debut and for the guerrilla style fashion in which this is shot, you can definitely tell this is a labor of love and that this is working on a shoestring budget. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of stuff here that's actually worth admiring, and I really can't wait to see what Finley brings to the table for their next feature film. But to jump in here, the film itself takes place in the southern Philippines, the island of Mindanao, to be more specific. So what I really enjoy about this movie in particular is that we're following actors who aren't actors. These are definitely people who aren't classically trained. They're people who happen to live in the area. Again, labor of love. But it does take a very special director to be able to go ahead and direct people in that fashion and still make the film work. And so the portrayal of Gary in particular, who is our main character, who's played by Gary Jumawan, is what I'm going to go with. He does an incredible job of getting across Gary's loneliness, because Gary in particular, he's living in this village, you know, learning things from his elders, just really just trying to live his life. And there is this horrific, and I mean fucking horrific, but I really like the portrayal of Gary because he's just lost in this world, but he's a fucking kid. And I really think that, especially when it comes to our political climate, you know, we get so wrapped up in what happens stateside. We forget about all the places overseas where women still can't drive, women can't vote, you know, kids are used as child soldiers. Like, we have our own shit going on here, but the issues that are going on outside of the U.S., I think, just are not nearly highlighted enough. So just off that alone, I'm happy that this film exists, because Gary's journey is fucking heartbreaking. When his home is destroyed by a fire, which, when you see how that's portrayed in the film, it's I don't want to say it's some Wakanda Forever like Namor shit, but it really is. It made me think of Robin Hood. You remember the end of Robin Hood, the Disney cartoon, when everything is just being burned to the fucking ground, and you're kind of going like, oh shit, that's dark. The way that Gary sells the emotion of just seeing his home, everything he's known, just disappearing in front of him, it fucking breaks your heart. But in between Gary's plight, in between his rock bottom, he gets some very sage advice for multiple people in his village. There's this one point in particular where he's talking to one of the elders, and they go, I believe it's his dad actually, and he goes, you know, if you can't escape the storm, don't be scared, and don't fight it. Be careful not to lose your strength. Look for something to hold on to, and wait until the storm passes you by. It's the same in life. And it's such a simple little anecdote there, but it's one of those things where I just kind of sat back and went, yeah, that's exactly how you need to play things sometimes. It is his dad, if memory serves, but that's when Gary's being taught how to fish, and that's actually a really cool sequence in itself. The different locales and the different locations that we see in the film is something else that I really like. The film opens up with Gary playing basketball, and the fact that people are just, you know, being dicks and bullying him just at that point alone, I just went, oh man, people are kind of shitty, aren't they? But Gary just wants to have fun. He wants to be a kid for you know, just at its base level. That's all Gary wants. He wants to be a kid, and because he is a kid, he's very impressionable. So when his village is burned down and he loses everything, So when he loses everything, he really is lost and he doesn't know what to do. And he ends up befriending this gangster named Nak Nak, who I will say Nak Nak, I like Nak Nak. I like Nak Nak quite a bit just because of the swagger that Nak Nak has. But it's very much that white boy Rick swagger. Like there is some swagger there. But as Nak Nak and Gary's journeys become intertwined, there's there's this wonderfully cringe but amazingly sweet scene where Nak Nak has Gary around all these gangsters, around all his, you know, his crew, his family, if you will, and he asks Gary, you know, go ahead and sing us a song, and Gary sings a song, and it's so cringe because again, Gary doesn't know what he's doing. He's a little kid, but he sings for these people, and say what you will about, you know, the gangsters themselves, but they all sit back and listen and give Gary the floor. And yeah, they give him a little shit, but there is an earnestness to Nak Nak that I think does get lost in the shuffle intentionally. Because yeah, Nak Nak's a gangster. He does some shit in this film that you go, oh crap. In particular, there is this one point where he shoots someone, and that is so cold in the way he does it. It's such a oh wow sort of moment. And I'm gonna make this comparison and stick with me here. So you remember in Jojo Rabbit when you see the people hanging? Yeah, Jojo Rabbit's a comedy, obviously, but the film never lets you forget where you are and what time period you're in. That's what I love about this movie. Because are there moments of humor? Absolutely. I think this movie is actually a little funnier than some people might give it credit for on first watch. But the film never lets you get away from the seriousness of what's going on. That's always in the back of your mind. That's always in the forefront of the film. And that's a hell of a balancing act to pull off. But Finley does a great job of being able to pull that off. There's also this moment and kind of the subplot about Gary's mother. And it's a very quick scene that I'm about to refer to, but I can talk about this without spoiling it. So there's this point where Gary asks one of the members of the tribe, you know, why isn't my skin as dark as everyone else's? And I love the fact that that is unfortunately a universal thing. That's not just specific to Filipinos. You know, that's something in the black community, you know, being quote truly black and instead of being light skinned, and the advantages that you are granted because of that. And I appreciate that the film even touches on that. And they talk about how his mother wasn't part of their tribe. And while, again, the runtime is quick, the film does a good job of establishing that there are multiple tribes where they are, and the racism and the conflict that goes ahead and collects between the multiple tribes just off of that alone, just based off of their looks. Again, I think it's a thing that not every director would have touched on, but I give Finley a lot of credit for going, I need to go here, and not being afraid about going there. But because Gary is so young and impressionable, you know, he's learning some things that aren't great. There's this point where Nak Nak is talking to him and he says, in this world, you can't expect respect. You got to demand it. If someone doesn't respect you, you know, you have to be ready to fight and punch first. And, you know, yeah, to an extent, yeah, you definitely want to be able to demand respect, but probably don't go right to the violence bit. But there's that point where as you're watching the film, you realize Nak Nak is just a kid himself. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, when they're met with these gangsters and they're, you know, real gangsters, and they go ahead and they set them up to be child soldiers for this global rebel faction. Once that plot line kicks in, you really see how quickly Gary's demeanor and everything that we know about Gary, or thought we knew about Gary, changes in order to, I mean, he really goes into survival mode. And it breaks down just simply to some people having resources, some people having food, some people not. And what do you do to actually, you know, survive? And where is that line between just doing, being a child soldier just so you can go ahead and have a meal versus buying into the actual cause. And that's another fascinating question that Finley goes ahead and presents that I think is very well shown to its audience. This is a quick film. It's like 85 minutes. 94 minutes, pardon me. It's a quick watch, but there's a lot crammed in here for 94 minutes. And it really did fly by for me. I actually went back and watched the screener twice. I watched it first on my initial watch of it, and then I went back after I interviewed S.J. Finley and watched it again. And I really got a little more out of it the second time than I did the first time, personally. So I as I mentioned, I just really dug this. I thought this was really well handled. And again, considering the shoestring budget and just these ways that the action scenes were filmed, again, on said budget, you really do get a good scope for who Gary is and who Gary could become. And the action in here, there is some violent stuff that I actually went, oh, wow, okay. It's going to catch you off guard at points, and that's a great thing. I would really recommend this to anyone who just wants to get into this world and wants to watch a film that'll kind of make you think after you're done watching it. So this is a solid B+ for me. This is definitely something I would recommend. S.J. Finley is definitely a director to keep your eye on, because if he can make a film like this on a shoestring budget, imagine what this guy could do if he got, 10, 15 mil and worked with A24. S.J. Finley screams A24 for me. I was really sitting here going, yeah, I could see him working for A24, down the road. But really enjoyed this. Think this is well worth your time. Solid B+ for Boy From Nowhere. So yeah, everyone, Boy From Nowhere, have you seen it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow my Linktree, where you can find all the places where you can find the show, our Facebook pages, our Twitch, all that jazz. But I'll run them off real quick here. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts. By the way, you can rent Boy From Nowhere. It's on Amazon Prime Video. It's $1.99 to rent, $8 to buy. I'm personally just going to buy it, but seriously, check this out. Support this movie. Get behind it. It's well worth your time. But you can find this on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, Samsung Podcasts at The Real Pineapple. Don't forget to follow me on Letterboxd and on Instagram at Black Shazam and J Hunter Real Pineapple, respectively. You can follow me on Twitter at J Hunter Real Pineapple. You can follow me on TikTok at Black Shazam. And don't forget to like both our Facebook pages at The Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. And oh gosh, what else am I forgetting? I think that's everything. But yeah, please go ahead and like, share, subscribe, rate the podcast. It helps us out a lot. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll have reviews coming up soon for Cocaine Bear. Woo! I'm excited for Cocaine Bear. Gonna have reviews up for that. Gonna have a review up for The Last Black Man in San Francisco as we continue our Black Cinema Showcase. We're gonna have a review up for Beast as well, which with Idris Elba. Hell yeah. Gonna review up as well for Watchmen, the HBO series, as well as Malcolm X. I cannot wait to watch both of those. I have not seen Malcolm X in over a decade. Haven't seen Watchmen, the HBO series ever. And I've avoided spoilers, so I'm really excited to see what that's going to go ahead and present to me. But everyone, thank you again for your support. Stay safe out there. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.